Have you ever looked at your life and felt like maybe you're reading from the wrong script? Well, today we're diving into that exact feeling. We're talking about the architecture of our own timing. You know, that gap between the life we think we should have and the one we're actually living?
Let's just get right to it. Have you ever had that feeling, that nagging sense that you're falling behind? It's a heavy one for sure. Most of us have been there, and today we're going to unpack exactly where that feeling comes from.
So where does all that anxiety come from? Well, it often comes from being in an invisible race, a race you never even signed up for. It's this constant subconscious thing we do, measuring our own progress against a clock that isn't even ours.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It reframes the whole problem, doesn't it? The idea isn't that you're failing, it's that you're just using the wrong measuring stick. When you use someone else's timeline, it can make your own real, genuine achievements feel like they're not enough.
And that brings us to this huge myth that we've all kind of internalized. We're sold this idea that life is supposed to be a straight line, just one predictable step after another. But the reality? It's so much messier and honestly, way more interesting than that.
And this slide just lays it all out perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the social media version of life, right? The highlight reel. It's all finished stories, clean wins, and what looks like perfection. But on the right, that's the real deal. Life's reality is messy timelines. It's pauses and full-on resets, and it's those long, quiet periods of rebuilding that nobody ever posts a picture of.
See, this is what real growth actually looks like. It is not a straight shot to the top. It happens in phases. It needs pauses. Sometimes it even requires hitting the reset button. And those things, they are not signs of failure. They're actually essential parts of building a life that has meaning.
Okay, so what happens when we really let that "I'm behind" feeling sink in? We start to act on it. And that, right there, is where the real trouble starts. Trying to catch up in this imaginary race, it comes with a really, really high price.
Because this fear, it pushes us. It pushes us to make huge life decisions that just aren't right for us. We jump into a career because it seems like the next logical step, or we get into a relationship because we feel like we're supposed to by a certain age. We end up on these paths that look amazing from the outside, but on the inside, they just feel empty.
And there's actually a name for this whole thing: false maturity. It's when we rush into these big decisions because we're scared of being left behind, not because we're actually ready. It's mistaking decisions based on fear for real signs of growing up. But true maturity? That's about making choices when you're genuinely ready, not when a clock tells you to.
All right, so if trying to go faster is the problem, then what's the answer? Well, it takes a massive shift in how we look at things. It's about changing the entire goal of the game, from being about speed to being about something way more important.
Just think about it for a second. The whole metric we've been using, how fast we're going, it's just the wrong one. Real growth isn't about speed.
It's about alignment. It's about building a life that actually fits you. Does your job align with what you value? Do your friendships align with who you are? Is the path you're on, no matter how weird and winding it is, aligned with your true self? That is the real way to measure progress.
And you know what? When you make that shift, when you start focusing on alignment instead of speed, everything changes. So let's talk about what actually happens when you stop running that race and just start building a life that's truly yours. The whole experience just transforms. First, any progress you make starts to feel lighter, It's not so forced. Then, that constant urge to compare yourself to everyone else, it just kind of loses its power over you. And finally, your life just starts to move forward on its own, naturally, without you having to fight for every single inch.
And that's really what it all boils down to. When you finally trade in someone else's clock for your own internal compass, you stop forcing things, you just start flowing with your own unique timeline. So the real question isn't, am I behind? The real question is, am I aligned?